Hey, welcome back to the most innovative shipping container channel on YouTube. And so behind me, we've got a staircase that's going on the end of that container. And I want to kind of show you the detail that we went into. And just from a business perspective, you're not going to make money on every job. If you do, you're lucky, good job. But for us, it's about producing the highest quality product we possibly can, even if the customer's under a budget. And in this case, the customer said, hey, build us a deck, and then we want to put the deck boards on. And that doesn't save us a lot of time, but it helps get the customer involved. And in this case, it's a retired old gentleman, and so he feels like he put some effort into the project. And so we cut a little cost off there for the deck. But basically, I'm not going to build or produce anything out of this shop that isn't the best possible quality for a good price or value. Now, you're not always going to get paid for the quality that you produce, but over time, word gets around that you're producing a quality product and so on. So I'm going to show you the staircase and go into a little bit of detail on the links we went to make it look really nice and the final product. So let's flip around and take a look. All right, so this is a 24-inch wide step staircase, and in this case, the customer did request a more narrow staircase. Typically, we're going to do a 32. 24 is going to work out just fine because that's 28 inches on the outside, and then with your handrails and everything, it's going to feel wide enough, and it keeps this stairs that are going right here. It keeps the apparatus lighter, and your deck boards aren't as complicated when you're not doing as big of spread. And so the 24 inches was just fine. 32 would have been fine as well. But what you don't have on a shipping container is two lines of traffic. Some people coming up or going up, and some people coming down, and so on. So you don't need wide steps. You just got one person going up at a time, and so on. When you're making a run, and this is a 40-foot high cube container, you're balancing not protruding off the container because you don't want this to be a wide load. You're going to make this run up to the top, and then what you've got to debate is, do you want like a one-step landing? Do you want an 18-inch landing? Do you want a 24-inch landing? And we think the bigger the landing, the better, given the circumstances, because for each 6 inches our landing increases, it's going to push the angle of the steps that much more this way. So you're playing with this angle, how large your landing is, and we're trying to make that landing large enough to where a person can turn around and feel safe doing it, even though we have handrails up there and all that. So if we make this is going to be a 24-inch landing, but if this were 18 inches or 12 inches, we'd have a little less angle on the steps, but we'd have a smaller landing, which when you're turning around up there, maybe that's not the safest thing. So we went for a 24-inch landing on this container, given the clientele. Some of them are elderly. So basically, when you don't have a conventional radius or geometry of the steps going up, these turn into what we call a ship step, which are fairly steep, because you got to get 9 feet 6 inches in this run, which this is like I want to say around 11 and a half feet when you come diagonal like this. And so it makes your steps, like I said, what we call a ship step. So here's the staircase, and you can bolt or weld these on. Welding them on is faster and easier, and we're going to weld these on. You can bolt them on, that's fine as well. Being removable is always a bonus. But this container is going to eventually get spray foam and finish out on the inside, so we do not want to bolt them because you can never undo them once you finish the inside. So we're going to weld these. And with it being on the end of the container, these should never need removed for any reason because it's not a wide load, so we're not coming off the sides. Now, if you have a set of steps on the side, you might want to bolt those so that when you ship it, it's not a wide load. So a wide load is anything over 8 feet, 6 inches wide. Containers are 8 feet. So here's the steps. Now, the details that we go into, like making these caps, we finish these and grind these to absolute perfection. You could leave these open or fill them with a plastic plug. And then all of our tolerances are literally within like a 32nd of an inch. So all these step risers are just spot on, absolutely perfect. And you can use a table like this to jig these up, or you can just use the concrete. But when you're flat and these are parallel and lined up, everything comes out, so you don't need a big fancy, aircraft fuselage jig to build steps. So we've got, like I said, a 24-inch staircase. All of our risers are on here. We're going to full weld these, but you can look at the finish quality of all of our welds. And like I said, we're just striving for absolute perfection in everything we do. And this guy was on a budget, but we're doing this for him. And I'll show you the deck here in a minute. So these are going to be, I think we're going to use an actual 2-inch thick step. Even though these are only 24, inch and a half will probably work. We're probably going to end up with an actual 2-inch thickness step. And then, like I said, weld these on. But we take time in laying all this out to perfection, no matter what. So you see a lot of shipping container companies, builds online. They might show you a finished office for $15,000. But what you don't know is, did they insulate the floor? Did they use closed cell spray foam? Did they use a window unit air conditioner? Because a window unit air conditioner is not going to get the job done on any of these containers. So there's a lot that goes into the detail, and I'll show you just the detail on this walk door as an example of that. So these stairs are absolute perfection. Now we go over here to the deck. So this is the deck these steps are going to. So you can see the entryway is right here. And we could have used 1.5 inches or 1 inch. A lot of cheap ways to do this, but we use the 2-inch. It turns out really nice, and it's not going to have any bend or bow to it when we get done. So we've got this all primed, and this is the deck for this container. So your stairs are going to come up right here, and we've got a 24-inch landing. So all this is really safe. You can't push any of these over. They're really strong. And these side rails, and I've shot a video on this, actually fold in. So we're going to weld this deck to the top of the container, and obviously with 3 feet plus of handrails, you're over height. So anything over, 13.5, 14 feet is going to be an over height permit, just like an over width permit. So all these handrails fold in for shipping, and so that makes it convenient and saves them money on freight. So we spend a little extra time making everything folding, and so then when you get these folded up, you just put bolts in over here, and there's your hinges on that. So everything folds down, and then when you get this set up, all you do is flip your handrails up, put the bolts in, and you're done. So what I mentioned was the customer wanted to put their own deck boards in, so they're going to run the deck boards here, and the top of those deck boards will come flush with these 2x3s, and we do these 2x3s just to make this entire apparatus more rigid. And then we just have one standoff. So we have 6 contact points with the container, but with these additional 2x3s in the middle, it makes it all really stiff, and we're not relying on the ceiling of the container, which you don't want to touch because the ceiling is not strong, for any support for this deck. So as we wrap this up, we're going to paint this ivory, which is an RAL 1015 paint code color. That's the most common color of these new one-trip containers. We're going to get this painted, welded on top, get the stairs on there. And then I showed this in a previous video, but all these brackets are for a lean-to that the customer's doing. So they're doing a roof off the side here. So this will be pretty cool when it gets done, and I hope to get pictures after everything's delivered of how this all turns out. And eventually they're going to finish the inside as well. So they're going to finish half of it and then use the other half for ATV storage and tools and things like that. So as always, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and ask questions if you got any. And thanks for watching.